That the Paradise Trinity is sustaining all that a Creator Son proposes to do is more than evident in the fact of the creation of his closest companion and greatest friends and aides in all that he does. Each Creator's Son is the only begotten and only begettable offspring of the perfect union of the original concepts of the two infinite and eternal and perfect minds of the ever-existent creators of the universe of universes. There never can be another such Son, because each Creator Son is the unqualified, finished, and final expression and embodiment of all of every phase, of every feature, of every possibility, of every divine reality that could, throughout all eternity, ever be found in, expressed by, or evolved from those divine creative potentials which united to bring this Michael Son into existence. Each Creator's Son is the absolute of the united deity concepts which constitute his divine origin, says the Urantia book. The Universe Mother Spirit of Salvington of the Sixth Order of Supreme Spirits and Emmanuel of Salvington of the Sixth Order of Supreme Trinity Personalities, the Union of Days, share the Creator Son's number of origin, being 611,121. There is no random pairing of Creator Son and Creative Spirit, and no accident of randomness of association with his elder brother Emmanuel, the Paradise Ambassador of the Trinity, and the only being in Nebadon who does not acknowledge subordination to Michael. These beings, these persons, were destined to be associates of Michael throughout this universe age, and perhaps in the third age and the ages to come, by the will of the persons of the Paradise Trinity. Now that's absolute planning. After creating Gabriel and the many executive administrators subject to his command, the next eldest children in the family are created. The Melchizedek order is first. We're told that the Melchizedeks are a self-governing order, and we're told why. The Father Melchizedek, created by, quote, a new form of creative union between the Creator Son and the Creative Spirit, unquote, later collaborates with the Creator Son and the Creative Spirit to bring into existence the entire group of Melchizedeks, numbering upward of 10 million. The Melchizedeks take the role of the eldest son in a large family. They are understanding friends, sympathetic teachers, and wise counselors, we're told. They are known in our constellation of Norleshadek as emergency sons, surely because they have had to step in to deal with rebellion in our local system, and the remarkable preparation 4,000 years ago for the advent of our Creator Son on Urantia by Macaventa Melchizedek's incarnation and epical revelation to Abraham and others. Jesus of Nazareth was well prepared for. The 1 million Verondadeks of Nebadon are best known as Constellation Fathers and as the Most Highs who rule in the kingdoms of men. They're even more far-seeing, reliable, and efficient administrators than the Melchizedeks, but not quite as brilliantly versatile. On Urantia, our halfway point in the Morantia life, we will learn much about how legislation at the constellation is truly the rule of law in each 1/100th of the local universe. Imagine law that is life itself and not the mere rules of its conduct. We will learn through these sons all about laws formed by others that function as reliably and for the good of all as does gravity. The almost 12 million Lononondecs are master executives created as close as they can be to us and still retain their brilliant mastery. They are best known for their roles as system sovereigns and planetary princes, functioning mostly at the levels of the local system and inhabited worlds. While no Melchizedek or Verandadek has ever rebelled, over 700 Lononondecs have, almost all being of the secondary and tertiary orders, but 3 primaries having perpetrated system rebellions. Bad news happening close tends to make it seem much more prevalent when the consequences are inescapable and normalcy is unimaginable. As a corporate coach once told me, fish who've always swam in a dirty lake don't know the difference. Put simply, we Urantians cannot imagine what normal is really like. Still, this affords us the opportunity to put God's goodness versus the error, evil, and sin of a few in perspective, in proportional perspective, both in our local universe and in our super-universe. 700 plus rebels in 12 million equals a success rate of about 99.995%, or a less than 1 in 15,000 failure rate. Any business on earth enjoying a rate of loss even close to 1 or 2%, or a company of 50,000 employees losing just 3 over the course of its existence, would be applauded for its record. And yet, we are told there is only one other local universe among the 85,000, give or take, in existence in Orvanton that has had a worse time of incurring rebellion and sin. Just one. God indeed is doing something right, despite appearances here on earth, when a less than 1 in 15,000 failure rate is second worst among about 85,000 local universes in the 7th super universe, where, quote, the need is greatest and the opportunities for heroic effort are greatly multiplied, end quote. Truly, as we reflect on life here on Urantia, we need to, quote, remember that the black patches of evil which we see are shown against a white background of ultimate good. We do not view merely white patches of good which show up miserably against a black background of evil. And besides all that, we have free will and remarkable examples of its creative employment for the good. Far more, if we look for it, than the counterexamples of misuse of that precious liberty. Now, the life carriers are another unique revelation in the administration of the universe. These 100 million suns created after the Lononondecs are the only group of intelligent life in a local universe in whose creation the rulers of a super universe participate. Nowhere in this universe are you tempted to say, oh, they just do this miraculously, let alone magically. There are over 1 million fundamental or cosmic chemical formulas which constitute the parent patterns and the numerous basic functional variations of life manifestations. These statements more than suggest a good deal of work and scientific calculation go into the making of life. They quote, "Life does not originate spontaneously. Life is constructed according to plans formulated by the unrevealed architects of being and appears on the inhabited planets either by direct importation or as a result of the operations of the life carriers of the local universes." End quote. At this juncture, let me be clear about something that ought to underscore our study of the Revelation and the use of quotes. This is not a fundamentalist or a book thumper approach of proving to you by saying, see, it says so right here. There may be a small element of that, but that would hardly be convincing. This is more an effort of trying to corroborate what you know must be true. There is a reason they start this paper with the definitive, unequivocal statement above. Our intellectuals wonder about this, and sophistry and ignorance says, of course life can rise spontaneously from non-living matter under just the right conditions, right? Wrong. The authors would like to disabuse us of that notion and know that there is no way we will ever prove that life can or cannot rise from non-life. Hence they reveal this and make statements that sound positively absolute in their pronouncement. Through the entire life carrier paper, they build a case reasonably to illustrate that there is nothing random in how life is designed. The random eventuation of circumstances is not what guides evolution. There is the intimation that environmental conditions are forecast to evolve to a certain point of favorability that may act as triggers, for lack of a better term, for what they call the suddenlies, the next step in evolution from a living form that skips any missing link and suddenly results in a form that may be a surprising departure from what came before. Urantian science finally arrived at a version of this theory of evolution in the 1980s, calling it punctuated equilibrium. We Urantia book students who've studied what could be called the origin of life Pentateuch, the first 5 papers of Part 3, have come to call these evolutionary jumps or stair steps suddenlies. Allow me to call attention to the fact that they go in detailed depth of the 7 adjutant mind spirits in paper 36, and then call attention to there being 4 and 20 types of psychic organization, mind types for human beings. Why here? Could it be that the genetic foundation inherent in the 48 trait determiners has something significant to do with this? We are told that mind is based solidly on heredity, even if supermaterial. Are they giving us some clues as to how we might approach this scientifically? And are 7 adjutants somehow related in some associations to determining which of the 24 types we are predisposed to be? Fascinating revelation, isn't it? True liberty is the associate of genuine self-respect. False liberty is the consort of self-admiration. True liberty is the fruit of self-control. False liberty, the assumption of self-assertion. Self-control leads to altruistic service. Self-admiration tends toward the exploitation of others for the selfish aggrandizement of such a mistaken individual as is willing to sacrifice righteous attainment for the sake of possessing unjust power over his fellow beings. There is no error greater than that species of self-deception which leads intelligent beings to crave the exercise of power over other beings for the purpose of depriving these persons of their natural liberties. The golden rule of human fairness cries out against all such fraud, unfairness, selfishness, and unrighteousness. Only true and genuine liberty is compatible with the reign of love and the ministry of mercy. The age of light and life is the final evolutionary attainment of a world of time and space. From the early times of primitive man, such an inhabited world has passed through the successive planetary ages, the pre- and the post-planetary prince ages, the post-Adamic age, the post-magisterial sun age, and the post-bestowal sun age. And then is such a world made ready for the culminating evolutionary attainment, the settled status of light and life, by the ministry of the successive planetary missions of the Trinity Teacher Sons, with their ever-advancing revelations of divine truth and cosmic wisdom. This is the final age on an inhabited world, evolutionary utopia. And while not perfect, it is a virtual heaven on earth. By now, 1/4 of all men and women progress to the point of eternal fusion with their thought adjusters in this first life in the flesh. Only on close inspection would we notice the imperfections still apparent on such a world. Much of life is humanly perfect, even though hospitals are still necessary, and not all wild animals and diseases are yet, quote, subdued in perfection, unquote. These worlds are fully integrated into the life of the local universe, and a core of mortal finaliters first begins to function with the planetary sovereign and Adam and Eve in joint administration of the planet. When Nebadon becomes settled in light and life, untold eons in the future, Michael becomes administratively free. Much speculation as to what will occur when the grand universe is settled in light and life occurs.